guys, welcome to the Big Blue United podcast. My name is fuck.
Nice.
All right, I got this. All right, it's fine.
Yep.
Hey guys, welcome to the Big Blue United podcast. My name is TJ. I'm here with Dan and Colin. How we feeling tonight, guys? Good to see you. Good to be here. Coming off a win for a change. Must feel good.
Yeah, I think in the last couple of days it started to feel a little bit better. I told Steph this, my wife, the other day, that the biggest, and I hate to start sounding negative right off the bat, even though we won, but this team has gotten me to the point where wins, and this has nothing to do with tanking or anything like that, I can't enjoy the win because in the back of my mind and in the front of my mind, that's the last win I'm going to see for a while. So it's like, don't dangle it in front of my face and then take it away real quick. So I have to try to get over that because there is going to be someday in our lifetime, I'm hoping, where this team is going to be consistently good again. And once that comes, I don't want it to be ruined by my attitude from years of maltreatment.
You know what's funny, Colin, is I had sort of the opposite reaction. I couldn't enjoy this win, not because of them losing the future, is because they lost last week's game because they didn't have a kicker. So we could have been 2-1 instead of 1-2.
Yeah.
Very super easily.
Yeah, as we said
we
in
were talking about last week's pod. Yeah. We talked about so much in last week's pod. But I think what I was gearing up for was like the Daniel Jones revisionist history, and I see like everyone be like, see, he is good. See, he does deserve the money. But I didn't see much of it, so I'm not pulling my hair out like a psychopath.
No.
Today, Tuesday.
No.
2 days after the game.
That was a Dable masterclass in making shit into not so much shit and then winning a game.
Yeah.
Beautiful thing.
That's it. I mean,
we'll get into it, but
yeah,
I think that was my saving grace. I didn't have to see the Daniel Jones truthers just totally take back all the things that have happened in the past.
I mean,
they tried.
If you are Daniel Jones truther, and I should say, with the preface here that you've seen Daniel Jones do this before. You've seen him have good halves of football games.
Yep.
You've never seen him be
average
consistently. Average half is fine. Yep. Because you want to say he didn't have a turnover. He definitely had a really bad interception that was flipped over from a penalty. A lot of the balls he threw to Neighbors, basically every ball he threw to Neighbors was high. It wasn't accurate. He did feed Wan'Dale some nicely thrown underneath balls, but most of his yardage came from basically Wan'Dale's yard after the catch, which was all he was doing all game. I think he had seven receptions. I'm not exactly sure, but I mean, the one thing you gather from this game is that Malik Neighbors makes Daniel Jones look a lot better. And if your takeaway was that Daniel Jones looks good, I think you need to watch the game again.
I mean, Brian Baldinger, as we've referenced him many a time, he did a fairly good job of highlighting the positives of what he did. Mostly, and you do have to give Daniel some credit here. He finally figured out how to consistently set his feet before throwing. So the majority of the good passes he did make, he wasn't like on his back foot. He wasn't, just rolling in one direction that doesn't make any sense to throw in another. He actually was, maybe he was just hammering the fundamentals throughout the week. That's the only thing that I can think of. And that's great. Keep it up. That will give you serviceable play. So, or at least point towards it anyway.
I mean, regardless of what you want to say about specific parts of the offense, it was definitely the best offensive performance put on by the Giants in as long as I can remember. At least the first half. The last thing I can remember was maybe that second half against Arizona last year, or whoever it was, where Daniel Jones, that was the last time we saw him actually look like a competent football player.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's coming together, and has to do with the offensive line. It has to do with Malik Neighbors more than anything. Malik Neighbors is a talent. I'm so happy he's on this football team.
Yeah, and there were plenty of people on Twitter basically saying, especially after last night watching Jalen Daniels just absolutely rip it up. And it hurts a little bit seeing
Jalen Daniels.
Yeah. seeing someone who, we weren't in the running for him. It would have taken a lot for that to happen, especially, thanks Tommy DeVito. That was not in the cards whatsoever. It is sad to see, but like people just kind of going too far in one direction and being like, oh, Malik Neighbors, best pick in this year's draft, whatever. Doesn't matter. We didn't get a quarterback. Yeah, okay, that's not true, but like multiple things can be true at the same time. Am I very happy we drafted him? Absolutely. And he's going to be here for as long as we treat him right. That's basically how that goes.
So 5 years?
Well,
or
happy. He'll be here happy for as long as we treat him well.
Right. I was going to say until he does something that John Mara thinks isn't Giant-like, and then they force him out.
I don't see that happening. Like, I don't think he's going to lift his leg up and pretend like he's peeing like a dog anytime soon. I really don't.
I mean, should that get him kicked off the team, though, if he did?
No, but, I mean, knowing the ownership and still going ahead and doing that sort of thing, I mean, we're not talking about Odell because that's way in the past now, but, like, he didn't help himself either. He shouldn't have been traded, but he didn't help himself either. So I don't know. They seem like different people. Fiery, yes, but different kinds of people so far.
They're very different players too, I think.
Yeah.
Odell was a bit more of like he would make those really crisp slant routes and turn those into, touchdowns, where Neighbors is sort of like very kind of fluid in the way he plays and runs his routes. And he's always open. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I'd argue that a lot of those slant routes that Odell used to run were across the middle, and Daniel Jones does not throw across the middle in that area of the field. He'll throw the little crossing, 5-yard depth route that Neighbors has to turn into a 30-yard run, but he's not going to throw it 10 yards deeper across the middle.
Eli was great at that. He really was.
Yeah, I mean, if we really look at, let's go back to Jones for a minute because I really want to, sort of talk about his passing chart a little bit. I did have it somewhere, and I can't find it, but basically, you're 1 for 4, throwing 20 yards down the field. Basically, everything was a dunk out route. A couple 10-yard passes were for touchdowns. Those were his best throws. The missing of Neighbors on that deep throw was distressing to me. The one earlier on to Hyatt that he missed was a little less distressing, but it just doesn't seem, do you remember years ago people were like, Daniel Jones has the best deep ball in the NFL?
Yeah.
We're like, when have we seen this? And I think you continue to not see it.
Yeah.
Especially now that he has the protection and the time to do, if he could do reads, he would do several reads and then move downfield with the ball, try to push the ball downfield. I think, ultimately all that dink and dunk stuff that's doing well underneath the Singletary or Wan'Dale, it's not going to be there forever unless you're going to start to open it up downfield to Neighbors or Hyatt or whoever. I mean, Slayton is also a deep threat. I think people forget that a lot.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No,
I'm just glad you brought that up, TJ, because that was pretty much my number one takeaway is that the deep ball is not there. He doesn't look comfortable throwing it, and there's really no touch on it. There's no timing. There's not the right amount of air underneath it. It just doesn't look right. And I think in order to keep this going, you need to have at least the threat of it that you can connect on it. And that's since Jalen Hyatt is useless unless people are threatened by him, catching a couple of those a game, that would alleviate the pressure off Neighbors and allow you to keep that underneath stuff going with Wan'Dale. Crazy enough, maybe even Theo Johnson, who seems to be progressing quite well, even though he had like one catch. I think he was open on a few more than that.
That end zone pass was a hard ball to catch. I don't think Randy Moss would have caught that ball anyway.
Do you think that it's been a directive by Dable where he recognizes that one of the main weaknesses Jones has is the deep ball, and it's like stress throughout the week? Don't even bother. We're going for what we can do here, and we're going to game plan in a way where the passing chart is going to generally look like that. Do you think that's like a thing that is
you have to take shots? Yeah. Even if you're not gonna make them, and it's not like Jones has a noodle arm. He does have an arm. He can throw the ball downfield. It's just the accuracy is the issue. I couldn't see, like, as a play caller, and especially as a creative play caller like Dable, you need to have guys go out to make space in other areas for your playmakers underneath or whether in the middle of the field. So if you're never gonna connect on those deep balls, then teams won't even care. They're going to make you a lot more honest, towards those intermediate and short routes.
Yeah. I mean, hey, I didn't see any film. Obviously, I don't look at film very closely, but I don't know what the defense showed. Was it at all the kind of thing where maybe he wasn't getting the looks? I'm not defending the man. I'm just saying, like, what are the things that could possibly have stopped him from trying more deep passes besides his lack of talent?
I don't think there would be one. I don't think maybe the play calling didn't dictate it as much. It seemed like the deep balls they did try seemed very intentional.
Yeah. Well, the one that you were citing before, the Neighbors one where he was open and he overthrew him, they ran it back the same exact play.
Yes,
the
exactly
very next
that.
play.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's, Dable being like, the new team mantra, which we can't say on this podcast, or what, but
yeah,
I don't know. Yeah.
F it.
Yeah, F it.
That's been the Big Blue United podcast mantra since we kind of started this, I feel like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we should talk more about the play calling as compared to last week. As we talked about last week with, or we could just talk about the coaching in general. Last week they had 52 people playing. They could have had 53. They didn't, promote a kicker, and they ended up losing the game. First team ever to, score 3 touchdowns and not let up a touchdown and lose a game. So, and I think that was all clearly because of coaching.
Yeah, that was a bad staff game for sure.
Yeah, so, and if you look forward more towards this game, I think that the decisions of the play calling were better. I like the run pass balance better. I think they need to even run the ball more. When you look at, if you watch the Ravens this weekend, there have always been predicated on the run. They have a quarterback who can run. We have a quarterback who can run. They have a competent offensive line, just like the Giants do. I think they should probably get the ball to more quarterback, run options and stuff like that. I think those work for them. But I think Daboll did ultimately a much better job this week than he did last week, other than maybe putting Eric Gray out there for a second return after he fumbled the first one.
Yeah, that wasn't I think you won't be seeing him doing that again. I like the idea of using the running back. We talked about it in the offseason, knowing that the rules were going to change with the kickoffs. It makes more sense to put someone back there. I mean, with the Dallas's run defense being absolute trash, we have to run the ball big time this year, this week. Not getting ahead of myself there, but like bring up someone like Turbo. Get him some. If you want to get him in the special teams, room and see if he can do something like that. I mean, who cares? Have a bunch of running backs out there, especially this week.
When is Gunner supposed to come back?
I think he's a couple of weeks away still.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And we signed what's that, the guy with the hyphenated name that was doing the punt returns?
I forget his name.
Yeah, I can't.
Terrible. Sorry, listeners. We're supposed to know these things.
I mean, he's so new. It's just like
it's just hard. Yeah, I mean, there's any number of like lower level roster moves daily to keep track of that.
Yeah,
ultimately aren't really important. So,
yeah, I don't know. Well,
Amir Smith Marsetti.
Yes.
Marset.
Yes.
It's definitely not Marsetti.
No.
Isn't that a nice Italian boy?
Yeah. I'll take it.
He's from Sicily. Yeah, I wanted to say that Bowen did an incredible job with his game planning. I mean, he's never been known as a blitzing kind of coach, and he clearly did a specific game plan for the Browns. Deshaun Watson is hot garbage, and when he's pressured, he's the worst quarterback in the league. So that was like a recognizing of that, which I don't want him to full-blown go Wink Martindale, but if it calls for it, send him. Send a lot of them. Who cares?
Mean, they had a beat up offensive line. I think Bowen saw in the first play of the game or second play of the game or first play of the game that Banks was going to have trouble against Cooper, which he did all game. So when your secondary is going to be a little bit in trouble and there's not a lot of guys back there that you can trust, and you do have a front seven, I guess you call it a front six now. Do we still call it a front seven, front six?
Yeah, depending.
When you have a front six of talent like the Giants do, and going against a injured and maligned Browns line. Plus Deshaun Watson, he knows what it's like to be coming at somebody without consent and just hitting them real hard. And, he got what he deserved that game.
Yeah, he did.
So I loved it. I loved the play calling. It was much better than we've seen from Bowen. I know it's only week 3, but you can still make these judgments. It was the best game that Dable and Bowen both play called collectively. So thus far this season.
And it's right on line with defensive coaching and the defense in general not really getting their stride until a couple of weeks into the season anyway, especially with a shortened preseason. And we've seen that countless times in the past. So I hope he just builds on it. And yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting with a short week this week. But I mean,
did you guys know? Before I do want to spend some more time talking about the Cowboys game than we normally do.
Yeah.
But did you know that Giants team record 36 pressures?
No, I did not.
Way.
Huh.
Which is one more than the last record, which was the game that OC had 7 sacks against the Eagles, which is 35 pressures.
Which
that's awesome.
I believe Strahan had 2 in that game too.
Yeah, I mean that was Winston Justice. I remember.
Yeah.
USC left tackle. He was a rookie, and OC just obliterated him all game. That was such a fun game to watch.
Speaking of OC, just read today on Twitter that he's going to be nominated, or not nominated. I think he's in it. Whatever this means, the International NFL Ring of Honor.
That's awesome.
Meaning,
I actually did notice the guy in the Ravens, the good guy, Matt Matabuke is perhaps his name. I know I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Yeah,
he's a defender. He had like the flag of his home country on the back of his helmet. Is that a thing that all players are allowed to do?
Some people are. Bobby Okereke has a Nigerian flag on his helmet.
See, that's cool. Yeah, I like that.
that. I guess before we move to the Cowboys game, a couple things I want to shout out. It was nice not being the team that has 3 offensive linemen go down in the game. I feel like that always happens to us. Like once a season, we'll have a game where we lose like half the offensive line.
Yep.
That was cool to be on the opposite side of that.
We got defensive backs instead, so it worked out.
Yeah. I think we deserve to give a shout out to Devin Singletary. I feel like he's been playing great.
Stop
you guys
Fumble boy?
Stop fumble boy.
He's 1 fumble. I mean, that's his thing.
Too.
That's the knock on him.
Yeah.
Is the fumble, but he's still running well. He's running decisive. He's making people miss.
He's catching out of the backfield well too.
Yeah. He looks like he's got a spring in his step, like he's a really, not that he's an old man, but he looks like he's a rookie out there, which is pretty cool. You know,
I heard he's a high motor guy.
Big motor.
Huge motor guy.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Tyrone Tracy was out there a bit. I like to see him get more involved, but he had 4.6 yards per carry.
Catching the ball too.
Yeah, caught the ball. 2 receptions. So I mean, I think I'm by no means like pumped on this team, but I think we're seeing stuff come together. We always call the first 4 games ish of the season sort of like preseason plus.
Yeah.
And I think certainly for our team that affects us more than others because we're talent deficient in most areas. But my most exciting, or the thing I was most excited for was Elijah Chapman. I feel like
I was just about to
would
say.
be all over this. He was sort of our favorite story coming out of camp as a player, the style of player, and his personality. Just really cool to see him sort of have I wouldn't call it a breakout game, but like start to realize some of the things we saw in preseason happen in regular season and see
about motor,
him get pumped and see the guys around him get pumped. If he becomes steady above average next to Dexter Lawrence, we'll be cooking.
I just love that they are incredibly different physiques.
Yeah.
Like literally Dexter Lawrence has 100 pounds on him. It's wild.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember if it was this game or the last game, but the announcer was just like gushing over Lawrence's physique. He's like, oh, he's so big. Look at how big. Oh, he's such a big boy.
It wasn't Chris
easy,
Collinsworth?
Man. Just take it easy. Yeah. No, it was not because we wouldn't be in prime time.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah.
I thought maybe he jumped onto a broadcast because he just likes talking about men's bodies all the time. Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Nah, I mean, I'm into it.
Yeah.
I do.
Go to Teddy's Bar and Grill. That's
ask for TJ. Bring your body. I do want to talk a bit about.
Bring your body with you.
Bring and your money. Yeah, you got to bring money.
Yeah.
If you don't have money, don't come.
Yeah.
Andrew Thomas, I do want to bring up, obviously going against, Myles Garrett, who is, top 3, if not the best pass rusher in the league. Thomas had a rough game. Do you think any tackle in this league would have a rough game against Myles Garrett?
Yes.
Yeah, and Thomas said it himself afterwards. He was pissed off. He was like, in a win, he looked like it was a loss. He was like, I got to be better than that. And I love that.
Mhm.
That's great to have some accountability for arguably one of the best left tackles in the league, and he knows what he needs to fix. And Myles Garrett's an absolute monster. So all considering, we still got the win. I think, yeah, it wasn't the best performance of his career, but it also wasn't the worst either.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's a hard ask for anybody. I'm just curious, does Trent Williams give up that many pressures? Maybe not, but I mean,
He's
maybe
an
I'm just
all-time
being nitpicky.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Last thing I want to talk about is Kayvon Thibodeaux.
Thibodeaux. I
Thibodeaux?
think. Yeah.
Thibodeaux show.
Yeah.
Thibodeaux show.
If we had to pick up Kayvon's 5th-year option right now, do we do it or no?
No,
Hypothetically,
I don't think so.
have you seen enough?
Well, after last year, which he played really well, what the hell is this? What's taking you so long? I know it's only the 3rd game, but come on.
I was reading that a lot of his production, or his numbers anyway, is a lot of garbage time production. And I did a little research on it, and it was actually true that a lot of his sacks come at the end of a game when it doesn't matter. Or he's more of a jumping on a pile guy.
Yeah. And I know the argument, especially nowadays, that a lot of NFL players say when, oh, you're a pass rusher, your stats are garbage. They say, oh, well, you're not looking at the pressures. You have to look at the pressures. And yeah, he has a lot of pressures, but you're supposed to tackle the quarterback too. When are you going to start doing that? And Burns, who was hurt, had the strip sack. So come on, what's happening?
I mean, I actually thought Burns, I saw at least one play last week where he gave up off the backside when he could have ran down the runner. So, I mean, it's hard to have questionable work ethic at that position when these two guys are built really well. I think Burns is going to come on much stronger as time goes on.
Yeah.
I was on Reddit, sort of reading on the Giants subreddit, had a couple Panthers fans in there, and they basically were just Burns is a guy that can take over a game, but will also disappear at times, which is sort of what we've seen from him so far. I hope that we see him break out more than disappear as the season goes on. I think we thought that with Kayvon on the other side, it would, open up things for him more so than he had, complimentary pass rusher on the Panthers.
How about Azeez getting an opportunity and going for it?
Best game he's had in his whole entire career.
Seriously.
For sure.
Yeah, since his first season.
It's
That was
great.
great to see.
Yeah,
then you got something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you need, maybe they need to, improve the rotation. And Boogie Basham, he can also play.
Mm-hmm.
I think keeping those guys fresh is going to be important, especially your two big stars.
Well, I mean, I have no problem with the rotation. I mean, that it will keep people fresh, and it's clear that it was sprinkled in a bit this game. And I'd like it to continue. Let's hope Azeez doesn't hurt himself, because he loves doing that. But knock on wood, he's good now, and maybe this is how he's supposed to be used, just sparingly like this. I saw some people saying he's a potential candidate for trading, and I'm are we really talking about that already? I don't know.
No, if we trade up in the draft, fine with that.
Well, yeah, that's a different story, but let's use him.
I don't think you've decided whether you're a seller or not yet. At least you hope you haven't. I mean, I think after week 1, we all were, thinking we were sellers. I think that you misunderestimated a good Vikings team.
Yeah, they're better.
So I think people underestimated the Vikings, kind of freaked out a little bit. We all did. Daniel Jones was abysmal against the Vikings. He's played better. I think that he's approaching maximum territory of game manager right now. Game manager. But anyway, I'm just really interested to see what they do against the Cowboys on Thursday.
We got him in a good point right now. This is going to be the week where if we figure out the game plan similarly to this last one against the Browns, where it just kind of goes the way that it needs to go, and maybe we just run the ball down their throat, like I mentioned, We could beat them. We really could. And it would be amazing. It would bring such a lift to this fan base in a way.
We haven't beat the Cowboys in how
1,000
many
years.
Yeah.
They've lost 13 of the last 14 games against the Cowboys.
There you go.
Yeah,
That's
that
good.
sucks. That has to stop. If we do nothing else this season at all, if we beat the Cowboys and maybe we beat the Eagles once, fine.
I mean, we beat the Eagles last season. And they don't really look that good this year either. The NFC East is actually pretty funny. If anything, I think Washington, after watching them dismantle the Bengals last night, are the scariest team, and it all has to do with Jaden Daniels and their defense.
Yeah,
which looked incredible last night. They made the Bengals offensive line look like little boys.
they kind of stink though.
I mean, their offensive line has never been their forte. Going back to especially their Super Bowl season or Super Bowl losing season, I guess you should say. But either way, I mean, you had a Washington team last year that basically fire sold their two best pass rushers, and then you come out last night, after basically just free agency and a draft, and you sort of dismantle a team that was, a playoff team last year. They look good. Anyway, we're not playing them this week. We should have beat them, if anything. But Dallas Cowboys, Colin, I think you made the best point ever, is that you have to run the ball, and I hope to see them run the ball a lot.
Tons.
And I hope that it gets very creative with some – I hope we go back to some college, option stuff for this game, because I think that's what's going to win it for them. Is Daniel Jones running the ball is going to win them this game.
Yeah, probably, and not turning
Put
it
your life
over.
on the line, Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I mean, Daniel Jones hasn't turned it over in 2 games, albeit, one of them he should have turned it over last game. I think we should look more towards Singletary having ball protection. I'd like to see more of Tracy too. I think he looks interesting.
I think we should run with a wing T. Is what we should do.
Nice.
The Chiefs ran wing T and at the goal line with Carson Steele like 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
The other night.
Let's do it.
Great.
Tyron Tracy, Wandale, Theo Johnson as fullback.
Well, we have to re-sign him first. Oh, Theo Johnson. I thought you were talking about the fullback that we keep signing and re-signing, the Raiders guy.
Johnson.
Yeah, we cut him again today, apparently.
We just get Madison Hedgecock back or Henry Hinoski.
Oh, the Rhinoceros.
Yeah. You know what? No, actually, scratch that. Fullback, Elijah Chapman.
Yes.
He would be great. Yeah.
That'd be sick.
Who still has a fullback other than the 49ers? Like
a couple teams, I think.
Oh, and Juszczyk
Dolphins
is barely a fullback, by the way.
He's like an H-back, right?
Yeah. He's like Dallas Clark.
I guess my main question headed into this game is the health of our secondary.
Not looking good. Nick McLeod's coming back apparently, so that's good. I'm happy about that.
Are we going to get Drew Phillips, my other favorite player on the defense?
Doesn't look like it.
He's the breakout player of this season so far. I've loved watching him play.
He looks so good.
He's a great tackler. He can blitz. He can cover. I think losing him is tough, especially against a Cowboys team that has a lot of good pass catchers. I don't think you're going to have Deonte Banks winning one-on-one against CeeDee Lamb. You're going to need to help him out. So losing Drew Phillips at the same time, I think, is going to make this game a lot more difficult. I'm not sure who Dallas has in the slot, but if it's Brandon Cooks, he has proven himself to be open throughout his career. On the other side, or whether he's in the slot, I don't know exactly. Who's their other receiver? Is it still Michael Gallup or
no? It's
Turpin or whatever.
No, it's this other dude. It's the dude from Toledo. What's his name?
Anyway, like they clearly they work on a passing attack. Their running back situation is laughable at best, but their offensive line is always good. So it's going to be an issue. They're going to need to, shut down the pass, especially to CeeDee Lamb, which I think last week the Ravens gave us a good model of doing that. But obviously you have Marlon Humphrey and Kyle Hamilton in your secondary, which we do not. So it's going to be a struggle. I think that's going to be the number one thing, is trying to shut down the Cowboys passing attack, because I think the Giants can score points just as well as they can. As long as they don't make it a shootout, I think they could actually win this game.
Well, let's see. I don't know. I don't know how Cowboys' offensive line has been doing so far.
It's not as good as it has been, but it's still above average.
Yeah. Well, I think you're going to see a hell of a lot less blitzing than this past Sunday, although I don't think it's going to be completely phased out because of the secondary, our secondary.
I mean, not to say Banks can't have a comeback game, but I mean, you don't go from getting ran over by Amari Cooper to shutting down CeeDee Lamb the next week. I mean, he can definitely play better, but if he's one-on-one with CeeDee Lamb and I'm Dak Prescott, I'm throwing the ball to CeeDee Lamb every single time.
He's not awful. He just needs to find consistency. And I know he's only in his second year and he probably has to build on a little bit more, but he kind of reminds me of Aaron Ross.
Mm.
You know what I mean?
He's more physical. Well, I guess him and Aaron Ross are both physical. They're both good tacklers.
Yeah.
Banks is a really good. I think everybody in the secondary is actually a very good tackler.
Which is a nice change of pace. Actually.
Yeah. That being said, you're paid to cover, so they're going to have to do something in the back end to, mitigate, that passing attack, because that's what Dallas has been known for. I don't think Dak is as bad as people make him out to be. I think he can definitely make plays. He will make plays. They're going to have to hit him a lot. You're going to hit him a lot.
And hope that, Tiny Dak Prescott is ready to be a baloney quarterback like he likes to be a lot of the time.
He does often be baloney, and he's also the highest paid quarterback in the NFL now, which I think is funny.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
Why does Jerry Jones do that, where he just leads these guys out really far, where they all go in the media and they're all upset? They're like, "Oh, I wish I would get paid. I don't know about playing for this team." And then a week later, they're the highest paid player at their position in the NFL.
Because it's
just give him the deal.
It's the continued circus, as is Jerry World. That's just what he does.
I'm just wondering, if you're Joe Shane, and they made the Jordan Phillips trade, you're Joe Shane. When you look at your phone, it's it's Jerry Jones.
Yeah.
You have to you're some other GM calls you who's not 80 years old and probably didn't appear in the wrong end of civil rights photos. And you see them, let's see what he wants. You're like, oh, Jerry.
Yeah. Oh, I really can't imagine anybody likes him in the league.
I bet who likes him is the older Cowboys players, because there's a lot of people talk about Diddy, but there's a lot of Jerry Jones mansion stories out there too.
That's
in the 90s Cowboys.
Good point.
There's a lot of those stories. Maybe we should open that up.
Let's get an investigative reporter on it.
Yeah. Let's throw him in jail too.
He's one of more of those people that just he'll probably be dead soon. So
yeah. No. He's one of those guys that he'll be 150 and then he'll finally go.
He's absolutely a lizard inside. Yeah. He unzips his human skin and is a lizard underneath. You could tell by those big chameleon eyes he's got.
Yeah.
Well, I know this is a little shorter than we usually do, but we have anything else to talk about tonight, guys?
TJ, you were right. It is Kevontae Turpin is their third wide receiver.
Yeah, I thought it was Turpin.
Can you want to guess how much he weighs, or at least they list him as?
165 pounds.
Nope. TJ, care?
230.
No, 153 pounds.
Get out.
5'9", 153.
Huge. Look at me, Jerry. I'm huge.
Wan'Dale's bigger than that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, he's down with the thickness.
I like
Perhaps.
I heard thick six the first time this weekend. Which is when an offensive lineman catches a touchdown.
Was that a Jerry? That was a Chris Collinsworth thing, wasn't it?
I don't know. I think another lineman quoted it. And then in the game, the Washington game, one of the linemen did score a touchdown. I don't know if they said thick six, but I thought about it.
Love that. Well, technically, doesn't that mean a defensive lineman picks off the ball and brings it back for a touchdown would technically be a thick six?
I mean, it could go either way, because the pick implies the defensive portion of it, but the six implies the touchdown. So
good point.
If you're removing the pick, I don't know. How about if when TJ Watt used to catch touchdown passes, because he plays on defense, he was playing on offense.
He's not a thick boy.
I don't know.
I mean, he played a thick boy position, but he's like,
so was Kayvon.
It's like a rock. Kayvon Thibodeau show.
Kayvon half sacks. I like that.
Kayvon half sacks.
Nice.
He only gets half sacks.
Love that.
He is a pile jumper, and I say that because I was a pile jumper when I played football.
Oh, I remember.
I know one when I see one.
Yeah, you got kicked out of
Outrageously late
games.
to the pile.
Oh yeah,
Definitely got kicked out of games.
You just hope. No, I got kicked out of games for kicking. When I was playing guard, I kicked the center and kicked the guard in the shin.
You were when you were center. Yeah, I recall that game like it's yesterday.
I could tell you absolutely nothing else that happened that football season other than that moment.
Oh well, that was against Lakeland, and I scored the only touchdowns in the game.
Oh yeah, well that sounds about right. Anyway, if you're listening to guys, follow us, Big Blue United Podcast, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can follow us, BBU Pod Boys on Z. BBU Pod Boys on Z with an X is what I was just about to say.
Nice.
BBU Pod Boys with a Z on Twitter to see when our new pods come out. And thank you for listening. As always, we appreciate our core group of listeners sticking with us over the years. We love you.
Beat them boys.
Yeah, we're going to beat the Cowboys. Or not.
Yeah.
All right. Have a good night.